Sabalenka wants Battle of the Sexes rematch and revenge, but with rule change women's world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka not happy to leave it the way it is after losing first match to Nick Kyrgios 6-3, 6-3. Women's world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka wants a rematch of her Battle of the Sexes showdown with Nick Kyrgios so she can get revenge. Australia's Kyrgios beat the Belarusian 6-3, 6-3 in a highly publicized showdown in Dubai last Sunday, with modified rules that divided fans. Sabalenka's side of the court was reduced in size by 9% in an attempt to restrict Kyrgios' power and speed advantage, while each player only received one serve. "I think I would definitely do it again," she said on Thursday ahead of the Brisbane International, her season-opening tournament as she prepares for the Australian Open on January 18th. "I love revenge and I don't like to leave it the way it is." While keen to face off with Kyrgios again, Sabalenka said she would want a full court and 2 serves. "I think for the next match we will come up with a different format," she said. "Before the match I didn't realize I would have to adjust and it was a bit tricky for me. I think I would keep the full court but I would take 2 serves. That would even our level a lot more. I always say that when you are losing, you are learning and I learned a lot about his game," she added. "I would do it again. I need revenge." The contest bore little resemblance to the era-defining 1973 Battle of the Sexes encounter between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. Back then, there was more at stake with the nascent women's professional tour, set up by King, fighting for legitimacy and prize money for female players far lower than for the men. King, one of the all-time greats of the women's game who was at the peak of her powers, saw off the 55-year-old Riggs, a top player in his day, 6-4, 6-3, 6-3 in Houston. The Sabalenka-Kyrgios showdown faced backlash, with some calling it a money grab, while others said it did little to advance the women's game. But Sabalenka said she felt exhibition tennis, like the Kyrgios contest, was important. "I think it's really important for tennis to keep it interesting, keep it fresh, keep it new, keep it fun," she said. She added that she was proud of her part in the Battle of the Sexes, despite Kyrgios barely playing in recent years and ranked a lowly 671. "I am happy that I was able to challenge him, make him work and make him physically get tired and mentally get tired," she said. "I felt really excited to see a man getting tired and going for his full game. It was a really cool experience." The Brisbane International starts on Sunday with Sabalenka's sights set on a 3rd Australian Open title after winning in 2023 and 2024. She was beaten in the Melbourne Park final last year by Madison Keys, not the polite applause, not the tidy claps that arrive on cue. She heard the other sound, the low, surprised murmur that ripples through a crowd when something unexpected happens. The kind that stings longer than booze. The kind that settles in your chest and refuses to leave. She bounced an imaginary ball against her palm and stared at the baseline. Somewhere in the past, the Battle of the Sexes exhibition had ended with laughter, headlines, and a neat little moral wrapped in nostalgia. Entertainment. A spectacle. A reminder of history. But to Sabalenka, it had been something else entirely. An unfinished point. The memory that wouldn't fade. They had sold it as fun. A celebration. Power versus finesse. Strength versus experience. The crowd came for curiosity, the cameras came for clicks, and the commentators came armed with comparisons that never quite fit. Sabalenka came to compete. She remembered the rules more clearly than the score. Shortened sets, altered serves, a format designed to keep things balanced. Balanced for whom, she had wondered, as she crushed a return that clipped the line and still felt like it belonged to someone else's story. When it ended, people smiled. They shook hands. They moved on. She didn't. Because something about the match felt tilted, not against her opponent, but against the idea of truth. The truth of preparation. Of endurance. Of what it means to win a point when no asterisk is attached. That was the problem with exhibitions. They pretended equality meant sameness, and fairness meant adjustment. Sabalenka hated adjustments. Revenge redefined. Revenge is often misunderstood. People imagine it loud, angry, dramatic. They imagine smashed rackets and sharp words at press conferences. Sabalenka's version was quieter. It arrived one morning during practice, when her coach fed her balls faster than usual, deeper than usual. When her legs burned and her lungs begged for mercy, she didn't stop. She accelerated. Again, she said. And again. Revenge, she decided, wasn't about beating someone else. It was about removing every excuse that could stand between effort and outcome. Still, the idea returned to her, persistent, tempting. A rematch. Not as a novelty, not as a joke, but as a question the sport had never fully answered. What happens when the rules stop apologizing? The proposal. The tennis world didn't expect the announcement. It arrived not as a challenge, but as an invitation. Sabalenka stood at the podium, shoulders square, voice calm. "I want a rematch," she said. But not the same match. Journalists leaned forward. No shortened sets. No modified serves. Best of 3 sets. Standard court. Standard balls. Standard rules. The pause. "And one more thing," she added. "No labels. Not men versus women. Just 2 professionals playing tennis." The room buzzed. Someone asked if she was angry about the past. Sabalenka shook her head. Anger fades. Curiosity doesn't. Another reporter asked if she was afraid of losing again. She smiled, small, controlled, dangerous. "I'm more afraid of never finding out." The rule change. The organizers hesitated. Sponsors debated. Commentators argued. Some said it was risky. Others said it was unnecessary. A few said it was exactly what tennis needed. The rule change wasn't physical, it was philosophical. No handicaps. No historical framing. No protective edits for comfort. Just this. Whoever wins, wins. Training camps buzzed. Social media split itself in half. People argued statistics, biology, tradition, and pride. Sabalenka stayed silent. She trained. She lifted heavier. She ran longer. She worked on patience, her least favorite skill. She learned to build points instead of ending them early, to trust not just her power, but her presence. Because this time, the match wouldn't be decided in highlights. It would be decided in hours.